Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Love People, a podcast hosted by Stephen Meeks, where I bring on an artist or a wrestler or somebody who I've observed loving people through their craft. I just want to use this as a platform to share stories where we're just out here being good to people, whether it's through wrestling or through barbershop harmony or through whittling, whatever you do in your free time to love on people. Come, let's have a conversation, bro. I reached out to this person because he's a very influential person in the wrestling space. His tag team is just super hot, pun intended, pun fully intended. But yeah, let's just go ahead and bring on Mr. Matt Sigmon of the Heat Seekers. How are you doing this afternoon?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, bro. I got a good workout in. Just trying to make more like pro wrestling decisions than not. I did like I told you, I did go through Wendy's after the gym. That was not very pro wrestling of me,
But
but
you went to the gym,
I
you
did go to the
you
gym.
started off the day in good fashion. So I think that you can count that as a win. And depending on what you got at Wendy's, I don't know if we might do some judgment work there, but
It's usually a chicken sandwich of some sort. They got the gimmicky like nacho chicken sandwich right now. So I'm a sucker for promotional items. Like if the McRib is back, I'm gonna try it, even though I've tried it 100 times. Like it's been the same congealed pork patty every time.
yeah, of course.
And but it hits. Since they take it away from me, I have to have it. I don't know if that says something about.
So are you like that with just the food items, or is it like, hey, McDonald's Monopoly is back, you might have a chance to win, and so you
Yeah, I think it's just the food items.
okay.
I'm not big on the. I don't like to go to the website. That's too much to go to the website and like. I guess they don't do that anymore. I guess it's all just the code off
I
the
have no
deal.
idea, but yeah,
Uh,
you want that instant gratification with flavor.
yeah, yeah. I'm a foodie. You know,
Mm.
if you can say that about a big rib. But let's just get this out of the way, man. Why do you love wrestling?
Oh man, I guess it's a love hate relationship, right? Love parts of it. Some days you wake up, it's like any other job too. Some days you wake up and you love it, and then some days you wake up and you don't want anything to do with it. But I've been fortunate and blessed to be around wrestling for it's 2004, so almost 20 years. Um, and it has been a roller coaster, but I love it, and it's very rewarding. It's also one of those things too where the amount of love you have for it and the amount of reward you get out of it, right, is from the perspective you take. Because there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, and if you focus on the right things out of it, then you can get a lot out of it. So, but I love it. The people, the travel. The places I get to go that I would not have been able to go to around the world with any other kind of job or field. The people and the friends I've been able to make literally around the world has been impactful, on me and my life, and just how I've laid things out over the last 20 years, and I'm very grateful for the journey it's taken me on.
Yeah, and part of that journey has been with one of the most. I mean, since I broke in, I've heard of the Heat Seekers as the most talented or like that unsigned tag team.
Mm.
Like, so if you got like a, I mean, if it's not too cliche and if the story's not too worn out, tell us about but the inception of the Heat Seekers.
Yeah, man. So I've been tagging with Elliot Russell now for going on 10 years. I would say in wrestling as a whole, we are probably one of the longest running tag teams. There's a lot of guys that tag for a few years and then they split apart, they break up for whatever reason that may be. And there's very few teams that have had the longevity that we've had, and we've never once had a split apart time, right? Um, and so we started that I was traveling doing I did tag work on and off over the years with a guy named Sean Schultz. I did it with a guy named Shane Andrews. We did variations of what we called the Heat Seekers, right? And then I tagged with David Young for a while, picking up the diamonds in the rough kind of concept that he did at TNA for a while. We did that for about 3 years. Then I started doing like singles work across the states, and that was going well. And Elliot got in the business, and he started training with me. I sent him eventually to Tom Pritchard to finish up and clean him up. And he started making towns with me, and we were going everywhere together. And we were starting to work each other a lot of places. We were wrestling against each other night in, night out. He was giving me concussions and breaking my nose, and
No.
I got tired of getting beat up. And we were still making all these towns together. So I said, let's start tagging. And it we started and we just not stopped. It's gone, and it's taken us on a wild adventure over the last 10 years of good and bad and around the world. And here we are today, still pushing strong. And it's what, truthfully, man, the Heat Seeker stuff, that's one of the best things I ever did. That's one of the best decisions that I've ever made. So
Yeah, it sounds like your noggin is pretty thankful for that decision too. With the
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
tough.
Absolutely.
And we love singles Matt Sigmon. We'll just go ahead and transition to this. Like
Mhm.
Matt Sigmon is responsible for the loudest pop that I have heard in
Right.
person, and that was in a match against the the Wizard, the Gift, Jason Kincaid,
Mhm.
and with his manager Sleazy E. I mean, I wish I could run a clip of it, but I'll just have to link it in the description.
It's
Just
somewhere on
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
interwebs.
It's on Jason's Instagram, but like if there's any, if you could peel back the curtain a little bit and maybe just tell us about that. I mean, I look at that moment and I see like I love that you were able to play with Ethan. I love Ethan Sleazy E. I think he's a freaking just a peach. I trained with him under Jillian Hall for a time, and yeah. So if you could just kind of, what was it like working with Jason and Ethan and just being in the ring for that moment, like to
Yeah.
help?
Um, Jason is one of my best friends in this business. We go back to, I think we started hanging out and wrestling each other in like 2007, give or take. And I've actually traveled the world. I've spent more time in a car with Jason. Him and Elliot, it's pretty up there, right? Because me and Jason were wrestling each other all across the states and Canada, and we've been to Japan together too, and he's one of my favorite people in the business, and he's one of the most creative people in the business too. I've learned a lot from him over the years as well, and always just so giving and thoughtful, and he's taught me a lot. And this particular night that you're talking about, he had Ethan, as he does on a semi regular basis, kind of manage him. And Ethan is faced with some disabilities, right? But he is also one of the most down to earth, hardworking for what the position he's in. He tries to make the most of it and go out and do something fun. And I saw this opportunity to create a fun moment because, man, people love matches, and I love good wrestling matches, right? But at the end of the day, when they're driving home, they're only going to remember, some of the big moments, some of the impactful memories, right? And I'm always looking for those ways to create emotional investment out of the people, good or bad, hate or happiness. And I saw a fun one there, and I pitched the idea of hey, Ethan, if you're cool with it, um, let's pull you in there towards the end of the match, and let me get a little heat on you, let me get a little steam and get people fired up, right? And I think
Yeah.
we played it right. I'm also real picky with wrestling. Not every time, but most of the time, right? I want to make it seem as legit and believable as possible, right?
Mhm.
Within the realm of what we do in creating entertainment. And
Yes, sir.
so I tried to play it in a way where that was still established, right? But we built up to this moment where I'm getting heat on this guy with disabilities, and from a crowd perspective, pretty rough.
Well, and it was very like Jason Voorhees. Like it was like you. I mean, it was beautiful. I'll let you keep going, but yeah, I
No,
just had
I'm,
to, from
I'm
somebody who
enjoying
was from somebody who was watching it live. Like it wasn't just the loudest pop I had heard. It was two of the loudest pops when the I'm not going to spoil it, but when the move hit,
right.
bang, 1, 2, 3, even louder. I
Yeah.
didn't think they could get any louder, and they it was just. I'll let you keep going, but man, like
So it's one of the, and he had been training with Jillian and whatnot, and he'd been comfortable doing what he can in the ring, and so he's in the movable wheelchair in the outside of the ring at the apron, right? And throughout the match, he's kind of getting in my way and getting on my nerves. You know, I'm a heel, and finally, I think we bumped the ref, and I eventually lose my cool, grab him, drag him in, start kind of not really putting the boots to him, but messing around with him a little bit, slapping him around, get him in a corner, run my mouth. Turn around to Jason. Jason gives me like I think it was a jawbreaker or something. I feed back around right into Ethan's arms, and he hooks on like a front face lock, front chancery. Right. So I pick him up, start carrying him around, and he's got this front chancery on. Jason grabs his legs and throws him around and hits the tornado DDT, and that it was just it was a fun moment, yeah. And I haven't thought about that in a little while, so it's cool to hear that that moment stood out with somebody, you know, as long as it's been since that spot.
I just like I'm serious. Like I used to carry Ethan up the stairs to the school, the building that we occupied to wrestle, and like I just I just freaking love that dude. I think his story is powerful,
Yeah,
and I just really appreciate that you went out of your way to like it's almost like you saw a need and you filled it, man. Like or I look at it more like you played with him. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? Whereas most people wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that it stands out to me as just like almost like an act of service and also just quality freaking wrestling. Like it was just everything. It was so good. I would never forget that, bro.
I'm a I'm a storyteller. I like
Mhm.
to paint a good picture, and I want people to remember something about what I'm doing every time I go out there. And if I see, you know, the opportunity available for something special, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go out of my way to make something happen. So, and that particular night, it took some convincing on certain ends, you know, but it was fun
That's
creating moments.
awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That so like one big reason I wanted to have you on the pod. Another reason I wanted to sit down and chat with you because I see you loving people through podcasting as well. This
Mm,
is kind of a medium I'm still trying to figure out. I'm trying to get it in my bones and learn this new craft. But you kind of have a similar podcast with Wrestling with the Mind, where you bring on wrestlers
mhm.
to talk about the relationship of like mental health and pro wrestling as it can be kind of like a struggle sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like personally like my biggest mental health battle with wrestling is like just trying to figure out where humble confidence lives,
Mhm, mhm.
because like I want to align with the word and be that for this business, but it's like an ego business. So it's like trying to find that balance has been hard for me
Mhm.
just to try to be transparent about like my mental health relationship with wrestling. But you had some awesome guests, and I just would uh, do you have any like kind of key takeaways from those conversations you were able to have with people like Sean Denny and Jason Kincaid and others who I'd be leaving out if I tried to name them all? But yeah,
Yeah.
I would
No,
love to
you
hear.
know, that was an idea because mental health challenges have become prevalent, not only in wrestling but worldwide over the last little bit. You know, and we're starting to put more attention on the mental health field. And I saw a need at the time, and still do, to put some awareness around the situation, especially in the wrestling landscape. And you know that I did. I had guys like Kincaid and Austin Aries, and Jimmy Jacobs, guys like that, come on and share their story of some of the challenges they faced over the years throughout our business, and how they pushed through it, and how they're dealing with mental health today. And a lot of it from each scenario boils down to stress relievers they're doing now, how they're taking activity throughout the week, and the impact that's having on their walk of faith, their nutrition intake. It's so many little pieces of the puzzle do add up, and that's something I haven't been able to record in a little while, just because I've got so many other projects going on at the moment. And I didn't want my mental health podcast that's trying to help people, right, to become a mental health obstacle for me. And
Amen.
um, I'm still going to record some more and throw them out here and there. I love sharing these stories because there's a lot of good stories out there that I think are inspirational. Some of these people have been in really dark places. I think there's people listening that have messaged me that are in a dark place while they're listening to it, right? And we open some doors to connect people with various mental health services, or just some opportunities for them to gain education around it, or to tackle some aspect of it, right?
Mm.
And that's just a passion project of mine, and I'm glad that you checked it out and are a supporter of it too. And I'm excited to have more of that probably in the coming months. I might try to do another episode just to keep some circulation going, if nothing else, in the next few weeks or something. I'll see what I can pull together.
Yeah, I mean, however I may assist in doing that, bro, like it's kind of a big reason I started doing this, or
Mm,
even saw like a oh, maybe because it's like we're storytellers,
mm,
right? I've
mm.
always, even before I was in wrestling, I was a storyteller. I grew up singing in barbershop quartets, and a lot of that music is sung without meter, and it's very like expressive, and it's a storytelling medium,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I just again like kind of got to give you your credit and flowers, because it's like I saw like that's kind of when the wheels began to turn for like maybe there's a space for a podcast where we can highlight like positive impacts
Mm.
that people are able to have, not only through wrestling but through other mediums too. I didn't want to limit it to just to be a wrestling
Right, right,
podcast.
and I'm not trying to limit what I was doing to just wrestling. It just so happens that's the
Yeah.
depth of the people I have access to easily.
Yeah.
But that said, I think what you're doing is great too, because people thrive on watching negativity, right? They want to see crazy things happen, car crashes, whatever. But there needs to be also this positive side of it come out, to where we are showing that there is still good in the world, despite when we turn on the news all the time and it looks negative. And the world is, I'm telling you, it is dark in some places and it is scary and crazy. But at the same time, there is good happening. And I think that needs to be highlighted as well.
And a big thing for me personally, as like a storyteller, as a creator, like and I love that I'm able to talk to you about this because I know you're also like a man of faith or
Mm.
Christian, whatever term you feel comfortable with. It's like I read a Bible plan because the Bible app has the little plan
Yep.
gimmicks.
Yep.
There's one about Mr. Rogers, and one of the things that got highlighted in that for me was it said something to the effect of we're called to emulate the Father and be creators,
Mhm.
and it's like, of course, if all good things come from the Lord, so it's like we're called to emulate the Father and be creators, so it's like I need to create good things, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like not to give myself some sort of narcissistic like God complex, but it's like
Mhm.
if this is again, to kind of reiterate what I had said before I think we started recording, like my calling isn't wrestling. My calling is to love people, and wrestling is the vehicle.
Right.
Now podcasting, I'm attempting to make it the vehicle. If I could just get my uh, ADHD a little bit more like under control and like
Some
remember
days
the
are hard, man.
yeah, but yeah, I just that just really sticks out to me, and it's like again, I'm thankful for the opportunity to create
Mm.
and put out good things,
Yeah.
and that's why I want to reach out to quality guests like yourself and uh, just share good stories that that mean something from people who have I could have a podcast with like a 10-year vet with like 15 matches, right? Or I could have it with somebody who's like been in the field, and it's like if this person is as tenured as they are, and they're not bitter like some of the other people I've had to share locker room with,
Right.
then like what's your excuse, bro? Like this
Yeah.
dude has had way more opportunity to get beaten up and chewed up and spit out by this business, and they do it from a place of like love and appreciation. Like I've had experiences where like you see kind of like a stinker of a match, right? And they come through the curtain and they know that they could have done better, right? And it's like, should that person be greeted with the vet, like who's like, oh well, what in tarnation was that? Like, you burn your boots. It's like if you can't give that person constructive criticism, are you really as valuable of an asset as you think you are, bro?
No, no.
Like, so
And you know, to that point, we all have, and that's something that guys need to learn too. You're not going to have WrestleMania every night, right? There's going to be the amount of times me and Elliot walk to the ring and do a match, and partway through the match, we'll just look at each other and we know this has gone south. It's bad, but we're going to try to pull together the most of it as we finish up here, and then we're going to go to the locker room, and then I'm not going to remember this match in 5 minutes, man. We're just going to be focusing on what's next. But at the same time, when we're in those situations, right, and things have gone south, and sometimes, man, not every time. Sometimes it is our fault. Sometimes maybe we've done something we thought would get over and it didn't, and then it just fell to pieces, right? But using those moments instead of just burying whoever the match is, or if I'm watching a match, right? Like you said, constructive criticism. There is a good way to do it to where my goal now, right, is, and I'm on the back end of things at this point. I mean, I'm going to try to do another 15, 20 years if I can. I want to be the old guy. I hate to say old, and here he comes, but
go ahead.
I want to be the guy that is still working matches where some people are like, God, I wish he'd just quit already. Oh my God. But like, you know, we have that opportunity to help guys get better, and so they can go forward and not only have better matches, but then they can help other people get better and grow, right? Or we can tear them down to where nothing good comes of it and nothing gets better, and then our business continues to suffer in certain ways that doesn't have to. I think every day inside of wrestling and outside of wrestling is an opportunity to learn and grow, and I try to walk away from every match, even today, uh, learning something that I didn't know or have the best grasp on beforehand, right? And so that's, we're all students of the game. There's always going to be room for improvement, and things can always be better. So I think there's teaching moments that can be established here rather than tear down moments. And I wish we would see more of that in locker rooms.
Yeah, and I think it's important for somebody to be on here and say that, hey, I've been wrestling for 20 years, and hey, I'm still learning stuff. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of people in this business who think they know everything, for lack of any better way of putting it, and
Nobody knows everything, man.
or maybe it's like they think they know better.
Right. You know,
When
and there's certain situations where they might, right?
Mhm.
But
Yes,
at the
sir.
same time, I think that I walk into certain locker rooms, right? And I'm old school mentality, right? For the most part, I want to keep control of my matches as best I can, but I also understand that depending on the locker room and the environment we're in, the fans or whoever we're interacting with that night might expect certain things a certain way.
Mhm.
And so I'm always trying to find that middle ground where I still keep control of things to the psychological level that I want it to be, right? But we can still have that match that the guy we're working with wants to be a part of too. I think there's something for everybody out there, and
Mhm.
that's the cool part about wrestling too. What I enjoy might not be what you enjoy all the way, but we can find that middle ground if we just put some effort in and work together.
Yeah, and Jason says all the time like flavors of ice cream.
Yeah.
And what I love about wrestling is it's a variety show to me. Like
Mhm.
we can have a little bit of drama, we can have a little bit of comedy, we can have a little bit of Memphis, we can have a little bit of ROH work rate. You know what I'm saying? That way everybody's happy that they bought a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, so yeah, I love that. and you said you have a lot of projects going on, and one of those that I've seen and would love to be a part of, Lord willing, if all the pieces can get put together, is this Wrestling for the Kingdom event. And I just want to give you an opportunity to like put that over and
Yeah.
tell us about it. And I like I said, it seems to have a pretty stacked lineup, and
Yeah.
seems like an awesome opportunity for both believers and non-believers alike. So
Mm.
I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, man. So, my walk of faith, nothing that I'm ashamed of. I'm a Christian. I got saved at a very early age, right? It's been a roller coaster up and down in terms of how I've acted on it. But over, the last several years, I've been very blessed. I always, when I got in this business, man, I prayed the Lord would open doors for me, right, to wrestle and travel the world. He did that, and I didn't necessarily take the best action, in utilizing that and being thankful for just that position I was put in. And I've been fortunate to travel through Japan and all over the States and China and all over Canada and things like that. And there's been so many moments, and it hit me not too long ago, a year or maybe give or take, where I could have had some conversations around Christian faith and around just checking in and showing a little more love than I did, right, with people. One in particular, there's a guy, he traveled, he was a fan, but he would come to all the shows we did on these Canadian loops, right? He would do, a good bit of them. His name was Jordan Garber. And he came to so many, and he was starting to help so much that people just kind of pulled him in, let him be in the crew. And there were so many times where we would chat, and I could have easily asked, man, where do you stand on faith, or how's God in your life, or
Mm.
just ask what's going on,
Yes, sir.
and never did, right? And then he passed away.
Hmm.
I don't know what where he was at in faith, or anything like that, but that's the problem, right?
Yes, sir.
And looking back on just that opportunity, and there's been so many like that. And I tried to treat people well, right? But there's so
Hmm.
many times where I could have spent 3 minutes having
Yeah.
a conversation, but instead I've been too busy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's good to be nice to people, but again, we have to remember that uh, the the entrance into it's not faith, it's not work based. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So it's like, and obviously it's difficult. It like one of my New Year's resolutions is to
Tough one.
just, yeah, that's a tough word. Is to just pray in public more, and
Mhm.
pray for people in public, and not
Yeah.
having, like it seems super simple, but it's like, but that's just what faith is, and it's
Mm.
it's tough sometimes. So it's like I totally understand where you come from, especially because it's like you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and people are honestly kind of
Man,
quick to be
we're
like,
we're
"Oh, you're
the we're
pushing
the
it on me,"
we're
and
the
it's
heat seekers. All we do is ruffle feathers, right? So that
yeah,
part of it does not bother me one bit, right?
yeah,
Um, but it's like, God tells us to love one another, right? And we're supposed to go out and share the good news. And
hmm,
it's a relatively simple task to do. And I caught myself though, and I'm watching my daughter grow up. She's 5 years old now, and I'm just thinking about her life and this crazy world and this future. And that, I started getting plugged back in more to church, and just really looking at what I've been able to do wrestling wise, and this platform that I have, and wanting to use it now for just something more than me, man.
hmm,
What am I, right? And so that's where this idea came about for the camp. I used to love, and still do, going to seminars and things, but not necessarily just the short seminars you see these days. A lot of them these days are, hey, come for 2 hours. We're going to do a seminar.
hmm,
Well, there's not much you can do in 2 hours.
hmm,
But we used to do these 3 day long weekend camps with, like, the Les Thatcher would run some, and he would do a full weekend, or we go to the Harley Race Camp in Missouri once a year. That was in the fall, and that would be all week long. right? And it's an investment in yourself. But at the end of the day, those were some of my best memories in wrestling, and that's some of the best learning that I was able to do, because you get guys from around the world. Everybody's working hard. You're in this learning environment, but you're making connections, lifelong connections, number one, and to where you're going to not only become a better wrestler, but get exposed to more areas and open doors of opportunity and that kind of thing. So I wanted to create something like that, while at the same time using it to equip people better, in their walk in Christian faith, right? And just to be able to make the most of those moments like we do have. People don't understand. We get to travel the world, right?
Hmm.
Not only that, we interact with a crazy amount of people, even on small independents, right? It's not necessarily the fans. We not only we deal with the wrestlers in the locker room, the referees, the road crew. Sometimes that's a production crew, ring crew, that kind of thing. There's sponsors we interact with. There's people in the towns. We drive to these towns. We start interacting with people all day long at the restaurants, at the gym, at the whatever. And there's not a lot of people in these positions like we are with traveling and such like that. So I wanted to do this camp to make people better wrestlers and to equip them to be able to handle these situations better when they're out and about, and support one another too, create that good fellowship. And
Hmm.
so going forward, that's my goal, and I'm using this camp as a starting ground for that. And it's challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it's it's tough getting guys to want to commit to wrestling training in general. Is tough because
Amen.
people think they know it all, right?
Praise God.
Um, and so that's a tough battle. But
Hmm.
then when you layer on, hey, we're going to focus on Christian fellowship, that it puts up a block for a lot of people,
Yes.
and I understand. And there's um, there's a lot of people who are church hurt. They're burned out from Christians they've interacted with in the past, right? Um, and that's something, another thing I want to work on changing. And I'm not saying I'm promoting any sort of decisions people make in their life, right? That I might not align with or agree with, but that don't mean I can't be kind and show
Hmm.
love, right? And
Yeah.
open the door for opportunity for them to grow, right? And
Hmm.
um, so it's geared at building Christian fellowship. This camp, Wrestling for the Kingdom. It's April 26th through 28th. We're also going to run a show with it, and it's going to be 3 days of just good fellowship and full days of in ring training. And I'm excited, man. It's
Tell me about some of I want to use the word clinician, but like
yeah.
educators and like there's lots of awesome people going to be a
There,
part of this event. Tell
there
tell us
really
about that.
are. So we got Les Thatcher, who, man, Les has been in this business since 1950. He has literally trained some of the best the business has to offer throughout WWF, WCW, ECW, and more. Even stars today. Uh, he has had a hand in teaching a lot of the guys that we grew up watching. Were heavily involved by Les, and he's an amazing trainer. And so I wanted to bring him in to give him this platform to do another weekend camp, because these are pretty rare these days. To the extent of this, also going to have George South, Mr. Number One, George South, who is been around this business for 40 years or so. WCW, NWA. He's worked for even today. He's doing GCW. He's
Oh
all over
my
the
goodness,
place.
he's a
Uh,
freaking treat to have
yeah,
in the locker rooms in the Carolinas. I freaking look up to him so much. But
one of the best minds in wrestling. One of the most charismatic people you'll ever meet, and just a great teacher too, who has made a big impact in a lot of the stars you see today as well, especially coming out of the Carolinas.
mhm.
And it'll be great to have him there. We've got Chance Prophet, who West Virginia boy from
Yep.
up kind of your way. And Chance is one of the most creative people. Been in the wrestling business over 20 years. He has seen and done so much around the world. Character wise, it's hard to top Chance, and a lot of people copy Chance over the years and
Mhm.
just take things from him. But he is an amazing athlete as well, a great creative mind, and these guys are all strong in their faith too. And then Brad Thomas, who I don't know if you've been around Brad all that much.
I'm not familiar, but I would love to hear more
Yeah.
about
So
them.
so Brad, in my opinion, right, and I've been around 20 years now, right? When I was breaking in, Brad was making towns traveling all across the country with Bobby Eaton and Ricky Morton. And Brad is probably in my top five baby faces, period, that I've been able to interact with. And I've interacted with a lot, right?
Yeah.
And Brad left wrestling to get into ministry work and is currently preaching. But every so often, I throw this hook,
Yeah.
magic hook, and I pull him back in, and his wife hates me, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
I've taken him on a couple Canada loops and things like that. But also a very good teacher as well.
Mhm.
And so I've got him coming in, and he'll be helping and wrestling that weekend too. And then myself,
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to be around as long as I have, and I love helping people learn, making them better in a creative way, and trying to in a positive way.
Mhm.
And so I think that between the five of us, and we got a couple other surprises that are going to dip into that I
That's
think.
awesome.
But between the five of us, and then just the experience from the guys too, the ones that are attending, um, they're there to learn, right? But we're also going to be learning from each other and
Mhm.
developing, um, just being better wrestlers from each other. It's a fellowship, right? I've got the
Mhm.
coaches, but we're also going to be picking the minds of those coming as well. And so it's going to be a very fun weekend in April. Wrestling for the kingdom.com for the website, how you can get more info and register. It's in Kingsport, Tennessee. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to make a pretty big impact, and I've got some pretty good plans for it going forward too. Past that,
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that kind of stands out as you were talking is like not only are you putting these people over as great talent and
yeah,
great resources, but great teachers,
hmm,
because I feel like it takes one skill to be good at wrestling. It takes another skill to be good at teaching and explaining this stuff
yeah,
to younger people like me, or maybe even people who are way more tenured than me, maybe somebody who's more in a position like you who will still come to the camp and attend because they see it as a valuable opportunity. Because like again, the again, I want, coming from a music education background, I want to use the word clinician, but like these people that you've brought in to lead or help you lead this camp is just, it's just awesome. And like, I think we've come to like three reasons that I've seen you out loving people through wrestling,
yeah.
and I just wanted to have a conversation with you about it. And I just really freaking appreciate your time and
No, I
appreciate you
thank you
being
for
so
having me on.
warm. And I kind of like to close this out. I'm trying to look over my notes and make sure I haven't skipped anything, but I think we've kind of reached a good stopping point. And I just want to ask, like, we've been talking about how you love wrestling and this is how you love people through wrestling. And this is your plan to leave the business better than you found it. But like, how does wrestling love Matt Sigmon?
Man, it's kind of like on the front end, it's that love hate relationship, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it loves me, sometimes it hates me. But no, it's been very good to me over the years. It is once again, it's provided me opportunities to see so many awesome places in the world. Some of the sites I've been able to see just in the travels up in China and up in throughout the mountains of Canada, just snowy peaks, and so these are images that are ingrained in my visions now. And just some of the people I've been blessed to become friends with. I can go anywhere in the world, pretty much every continent almost now. If I get into trouble, I am a phone call away from like 2 hours maybe of help,
Yeah.
or
That's
2 hours
powerful.
away, right? So I, I,
Mhm.
I have reach, and that's something that wrestling has loved me and blessed me with, right? And there's the platform, right? Even though I've not utilized it as well as I wish I would have or have wanted to, I'm still on the platform, and now I have this opportunity to give back as well. And so, um, And on top of that, man, it doesn't pay every bill, but it pays a good portion of bills now these
And
days.
that's beautiful.
And I'm blessed, man. I am blessed, and I'm thankful, and I will love wrestling until the day I die.
Yeah, and then just you said something like, we all, it doesn't pay all the bills, but it's nice to pay a bill with wrestling. And one of my big goals this year is, how do I make an impact while making an income?
Yeah,
So, and wrestling is obviously a big part of that. So it's like,
yeah, it's crazy, and it's a tough business, right? It's a
mm,
starving artist business, but it's like any other profession too. You got to invest in yourself to grow, and like with fitness or health education, you're constantly having to invest in yourself to learn more and build up credentials, and the kind of thing still applies in wrestling, and it's tough, but it's possible.
yeah, bro. And we're kind of reaching the end of our time here, man. And
Yeah,
again, I just want to thank you so much for your taking some time out of your day just to share some stories with me, bro. It means a lot. Again, like, you've been a pretty influential figure on my wrestling journey, and this is our
my
first time
pleasure.
meeting, first time
Yeah,
really
yeah,
meeting each other. So
absolutely, absolutely. And
it's just,
hopefully, you get to come down to the camp, and
yeah,
we'll
bro.
meet more.
That would be awesome, dude. Again, this has been, like, I feel like fed now, like spiritually fed. I feel like that was a great conversation. I learned a lot. It was cool to kind of get to know you a little bit better, and let you know that your work is being influential to
Much
people that
appreciated.
you don't even know about, like
You
Stephen
bet.
Meeks,
Love it. Love
So,
it.
again, just thank you for your time. If you're still listening, thank you for listening, and thanks for loving people. Go out into the world and love your neighbor, and whatever. Just go be good to people, even
Do
if
it.
it's through wrestling or through basket weaving or whatever you do. Love people, damn it. Like, it's
Basket
fun.
weavers need love too, right?
Basket. All right. Well, thank y'all. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.